Alright folks, today's project takes us to this Murray 20-inch push mower. It belongs to a neighborhood person and they were going to throw it away, and I said, well, let me fix it for you for free. And he couldn't believe it. They don't have any money, so I figured, what's the point of chucking it in landfill if it can be fixed? I'm not sure what model year this is, but he said it was running. Then over the last couple of months, it just got to a point it won't even start anymore. So we're going to go through it. I'm going to show you what you can do to get your push mower running. Hey, and if you don't want to save money, if you're lazy and you like to throw stuff in the junkyard and you don't care about recycling, then leave this video right now. This is not for you. So for all you people that want to see how to do this and perhaps save your mower, save some money and have a little pride, well, stick around. Let's get to it. All right, so as long as you're not confused here, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you two things. The mower that we're going to be working on and the one I got about a year ago, and they look almost identical, but they are not, just so you don't think I'm trying to scam you or fake a video. You can see this one here has a hard top. This is a 4.5 gross torque. Not sure if that's a 3.5. I think it's a 3.5 horsepower motor. I'm not sure. But this one here has a plastic top on it. This is the one I picked up out of the landfill for free. I put a little bit of elbow grease in it and didn't have to do hardly anything to it, and shined it up, and look at it, still runs to this day. So that's the mower I picked up about a year ago, and here is the one that we are going to be working on. It's in pretty good shape. It's got a wire right here. But you know what? I actually might have a piece for that, because if you're anywhere close to being me, you like to keep things and put it in storage. I actually drug these out from underneath my basement to see what I actually have. And I probably have some parts here that will work on that. Matter of fact, right here. How about that? For free. So this is why I like to keep a lot of old motors. You could trash pick these up along the road and just keep them, put them somewhere, cover them up. And when you need parts, there they are. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is pull this spark plug out, and I want to see how well it's firing. I know he said it runs, but I just want to verify everything. So we'll go ahead and check this out real quick. Let's see what we got here. Alright, well, spark plug looks really good. Alright, well, let's see if we get any fire. Alright, so we got the spark plug there kind of set up and grounded. It ain't going to take much of a spark, and hopefully you can see that. And let's see if we have any spark there. And okay, we got spark. That's great. And I don't know if you can see in there, but it's nice clean feel, and our primer's working just like it should. I will prime it 3 times. Let's see if it'll even fire on me. Alright, let's give this a shot. Maybe he wasn't priming it enough. I don't know. But we'll see if we can get it to fire or do anything. Almost. You know what I think it is, and I know you know. I bet you anything it's the carburetor. Oh, almost. Yeah. It's pointless. You know what we're going to be doing? That's right. So before we tear this apart and dig into it, I just wanted to also add that the deck's in great shape. It's well worth fixing. It's hard to find these that have decks that are not rotted out, but more than likely it's probably going to need maybe $1 worth of parts. So this is one reason we're keeping it, and when I told him to keep it and fix it, it's worth it. And other than that, the wheels are in good shape, and the deck, it's underneath, it's not even close to being rotted out. It's your typical grass. And what we might do is power wash it when we're all done, once we get it running, clean it up for the guy and surprise him. That's what neighborly is all about. So let's go ahead and dig into it now. So to make most of my jobs a little bit easier, I have one tray for my tools and one tray for basically parts that come off the mower, and that way I can kind of keep them together, because you don't want to lose a nut or bolt into the grass. $150 mower. So I didn't find a build date on it, but it doesn't look like it's ever been serviced. Yeah, well, right off the bat we got a pretty nasty looking filter, but that's not going to keep it from running. But if we look in here, wow. See all that black inside that carburetor? So we got some stuff going on here. And it looks like we got this here, looks like it's okay. I thought maybe we had some cracks, some dry rotting going on, but no. It's in good shape, but it looks like it was just starving for air there. And also the filter, carburetor filter is probably plugged up. So we're going to go ahead and just disassemble all this part. Now right here, see the spring? Be very careful, pay attention where this goes. And you can see on this model, it's never been torn or taken apart or anything. It's actually bent right here a little bit. This piece is bent, and this is the right amount of tension that you want on this. Although you can adjust this and put different springs on there. I'm not sure if this is even the original one, but it looks pretty good, so we're going to leave it just like that. Alright, let's go ahead and take our little itty bitty spring off. And the long end on this actually goes back here on the plastic. That's probably the original spring, so looks pretty good. Put that in our little pan, and now we'll go ahead and start taking some bolts off around the side here. Alright, we got 3/8 bolts to take off all the way around. Alright, so there's the last one there. Now, I'd said something in my last video that kind of made some people angry. They said, no, they don't put metric bolts in here. But yeah, I know. It's all a standard size, but sometimes I find people shove metric bolts in here. And that's why I end up using sometimes metric tools. So, alright. Alright, so that looks, practically looks brand new. So at least I've covered it up. And it works still. Alright, so we got that off. Now we got to go ahead and get a couple of things here off. We'll go ahead and drop the gas tank off. Got a little bolt right here. And let's see, this should be, yeah. See, these bolts are all the same size, which is nice. Because often I find people really put things in they shouldn't and mess everything up. Briggs and Stratton. Alright, so there's that one. Alright, so now we can go ahead and work on this gas tank. We got this one big one back here that we have to take off. Alright, so we got our main bolt here that holds the gas tank on. This is a 1/2 inch. Oh, there's one there. Might as well just take the lid off. Loosen this up. You know, and if your mower ran and it just slowly dies over time, there's a good chance you can fix it yourself. I don't care who you are. Just get out and buy some little parts and fix your mower. It's all about the satisfaction when it's done and the accomplishment, which I think we need more in our lives these days, if you know what I mean. Alright, so that's all. And by the way, once this comes off, remember that bolt, people forget to put this back on here first with the gas tank. So this stuff is off. Let's see if we can get this little guy here off without spilling all the gas and me knocking over the camera. There we go. Alright. Now let's see if our squirter works. Yeah, it's pretty dirty down in there. See if it squirts. Oh yeah. Take that, baby. Oh yeah. So that's good. So what we're going to do next is go ahead and take our carburetor off this gas tank, drain all the gas out of it. Alright, let's go ahead and get our gas out of this tank. This is ghetto style. Hey, a country boy can survive, right? Yeah, I know the cloth is dirty, but well, I always filter my gas and reuse it. We'll look inside this tank. A little rusty. Now I did make a comment saying that this gas tank was aluminum. Well, I was 50% right, and someone corrected me on that. But I want to correct you also. Someone said that that gas tank is 100% steel. Well, no, it isn't, and I'll prove it to you here in a second. Alright, let's get this gas out of here. I know some of you are probably cringing about my thumb. It's not infected. I dropped a rim on it about 3 months ago. And you can see it's kind of rusted down in there. So that becomes a problem after a while. We're going to have to do some serious cleaning, that's for sure. Alright, so we got the gas filtered out. Alright, so let me show you something real quick. Here's a gas tank, and here's a magnet. And you can see that's metal. What they do, they make the top of this out of aluminum, see? It won't stick. But this part up here is aluminum, see? Will not stick whatsoever. So it's a 50-50. But a lot of the problems start right here, this metal. Moisture gets in there, sits around all winter, and you get rust forming, and it gets sucked up into the carburetor, into the filter and the screen. And that's what causes our problem. So just so you know. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this carburetor off and our 5 little screws. And before we do that, on the back here, take a little screwdriver or something and pop this ring off and this here, because I've seen guys lose these in the grass down through a crack of the floor. You'll never find them, just so you know, you'll have that. Now we'll take all these little screws out. There's 5. Let's see, there's 3, 4, 5. Take all these out, and this will give us access to the carburetor gasket. I know I got the dirtiest rag here on YouTube, probably. You really got to put a little muscle into these. I've been on here since brand new. Take your screwdriver and push down really hard to break these loose. Because if you don't, you end up just stripping this out. I've done it before. Oh. Alright, 2 more. Oh. Now I bet you this gasket is pretty well shot on this. These gaskets don't last that long. A typical gas lawnmower gasket on the carburetor, you get about 2 years or so. Not even that sometimes out of them, because gas does a lot of nasty things to gaskets over time. Alright, so there's the last one. Get that out. Alright, let's see what we got here. This is the moment. Oh yeah, it's got all kind of crud. Look down in there. I don't know if you can see where my little finger is right there. See how there's a bunch of black stuff, pile of sand and dirt down in there. And you see all that black stuff on the bottom of the screen. Little tiny specks. Well, that stuff still gets up in the carburetor, blocks the emotion tube right here. This thing is dirty. This gasket's pretty well done. I've seen better. Let's pop it off and see what we got here. When you take this off, don't throw it away, because if you have another gasket, that way you can match it up. And I've got a 10-pack of gaskets. If this is all it needs and a good cleaning, then I fix it for about 50 cents. Yeah, it's pretty dirty, so we'll clean all this out. And one thing we got to do, once we're done cleaning here, we got to pull this screen off. This is where the emotion tube is. Let's go ahead and pull this off, and I'll show you real quick. Once I get it off here, eventually get it off. Boy, this one's fighting me. It doesn't want to come off. You got to come off. There we go. All right. Yeah, there's stuff inside there too. Alright, so we'll just clean all this up real quick and pull this out of here, and hopefully we'll have a decent mower. Alright, so we swapped out our filthy, dirty rag for a less dirtier rag. Still, it's a little bit cleaner. Alright, so we'll clean this up here. We'll get the emission tube here cleaned out real good. Make sure it's clean. I'm just using regular old throttle body. I'm out of carburetor cleaner, so I'm using what I have. Clean this out really good. You can see all the black there. Wow. Right there. It's pretty dirty. I think once we do all this, put a little new carburetor gasket up, we're going to have a pretty nice little mower. Alright, well, she's pretty clean. By the way, any sponsors out there want to hit me up with some cleaner? Hey, send me an email. Be more than happy to throw it on my channel. But as long as the underside's clean, we got all the specs out of that. Bottom of the tube right here, the screen, the emission tube, and also a lot of guys will forget about this screen, and what happens, stuff will still get through this screen, and over time it will build up and start to plug that little teeny tiny holder. And if your mower is running but the idle goes a lot of times that's the problem. So but the screen seems to be in pretty good shape here. I don't see no holes, so looks good. And when you're cleaning this out, I think I said this on another video, spray it from the outside in. That way you'll blow anything in here out. You're not going to blow it off, you just spray it in like this. So, alright, looks really clean. So at this point, all we got to do is grab a gasket here. Alright, and not to shortchange you guys, go ahead and clean this little hole out. See all that stuff that came out of it? Alright, it's nice and clean now. And I've got that gas tank about as clean as I can get it. You can buy these for brand new for about $14. I'll tell him, you know, if he wants to put a new tank on it, I'll do it for free. No big deal. But I think I've got that tank about as clean as it's going to get. There's the gasket we took off. We got our tank of it here nice and clean on the top, no scarring or anything. There's the old gasket, and we're going to take these gaskets here that I bought a bunch. And I think it turns out to be like maybe 50 cents per gasket. You can buy these on eBay. 3.5 horsepower to up to 4.5. Basically all the same. And there are actually two gaskets. You get a thick one and a thinner one. And kind of match them up here a little bit. Let's see. There we go. Eventually I'll get it. There we go. Kind of like that, and take your old one and just kind of line it up on top of that and see if it looks the same. And looks pretty good. And remember, this will go down. You see how that spring set in there and how this is kind of pushed down? That's how you know not to get these messed up backwards. So we'll flip this around like this, and see, I got the gasket backwards. So this is why you gotta look at your old gasket. There we go. And you can see right there, that little thing right there, that's exactly the way it is right there. So now all we got to do is put our gasket on our tank like this. Line that up. Perfect. I think you can see that. I may actually have to set the camera a little bit better for you. And all we got to do is put our carburetor on top and bolt it down. Perfect. And we'll drop this in, double check everything, make sure there's no dirt, debris, and use your squirter, squirt it a couple more times, you know, in case there's anything in there. And make sure there's nothing there. And we'll just drop this down here like this. And we're ready to put our bolts in. Alright, so we're on our last screw. You know, just snug them down, not terribly tight, just enough to hold that gasket in place. Double check everything here, and we're ready to put it back together. Hit your squirter, pump it a couple times. If you hear that sucking, that means that it's working just like it should. Hello, I wish I had a better gas tank, but you can see, I don't know, it's fairly clean in there. I put more gas in it, sloshed it around a couple times, and took the gas and filtered it through a cloth, so there's no more dirt in there at least, or water. So now all we gotta do is put it back together. And before we put it back together, I just want to show you one thing here. Make sure you put your O-ring back in here like this, on this side. Nothing like putting it all together and forgetting to put this back in. And put that there like that. Snap that in there. That way you won't forget it. And now we're ready to put it back together. Alright, I don't know if you saw that. I almost messed up. I forgot to hook that back in too. Gotta do all this together at one time. Alright, let's go ahead and put our little screw in here. I like to put that just kind of finger tight there and put this little set screw in like this. That way the gas tank's aligned. We got our gasket in. Gotta just tighten her down. Alright. There's that. Alright, so there we go. It's all together. So all we gotta do now is put the top on it and put the carburetor on it, the cleaner, air cleaner, the dirty air cleaner, and see if this thing runs. Alright, I never know when to put this on there, but it's on. Let's go ahead and get our top back on. Get our 3 little screws as I try not to hit the camera now. Some people said in the last video I pinched this here, but this time we'll make sure we don't do that. See right there, it's plug wires okay. We'll get our 3 bolts in here. My question is, how do you think we'll run on a second pull after I print it? Well, we'll see. Alright, so we got our last bolt there tight. Yeah, I know, I cut my hand. And all we gotta do now is put the carburetor cleaner on, air cleaner, but I'll have him get a new one later. I just want to see if it runs for now. Tighten everything down, and all we do is put some gas in it and see if this baby runs. Alright, we got her topped off with some clean fuel. And now we're ready to start this up and see if it works. Tell you what, we'll check the oil just to be safe. Pretty sure it's still got oil in it. Dirty as crap, but it's got oil. Probably a little too much, but maybe they tried to give up on it. Alright, let's see if she'll start. We'll see. We'll prime it. 1, 3 shots, and let's see if she runs. Well, just as I thought I had it fixed, I think we've got a sheared key. We got a timing issue because it's popping through the carburetor or the exhaust one. I don't know if you can hear this. Let me try to start it again. Yeah, I think we need to do a little more research here and see what's going on with it. All right, so let's take a look at the shear key here. Pull the cover off real quick. And, well, it looks just like it should. It's right perfect. So what in the tarnation is going on? Do we have a coil that is bad, or do we have a compression problem? Well, timing problem leading to a compression issue. I should have checked the compression earlier, but you saw earlier in the video, when I started the video, it actually ran for a few seconds and stopped. So, well, we'll put all this back together. We'll tighten it down and we'll check the compression next and see what's going on there. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do this compression check. I forget what the readings should be on these. I think it's 25 pounds. But the point is, we'll see if it has compression. Oh, and by the way, see that right there? Check this out. Check that out. There's the build date. August 2011. Wow, 2011. Back when the world was a pretty decent place. Anyway, so there, yeah, there was a build date. So that's interesting. Made. Oh well, but anyway, you get the point. That's when it was built. Alright, let's see what's going on. By the way, the plug looks just fine. Not sure why it's kind of, it sounds like it's popping back to either the carburetor or the intake. I'm not sure which. Alright, so we're all hooked up there, and let's see what we get for compression. Alright, I think you can see that, but the point is, let's see if it's even has any compression. Alright, well, we have compression. So, what goes? Huh. Alright, well, just to show sometimes things aren't as easy as you think, but at least we got a new gasket on the carburetor. I'm starting to think maybe that coil is bad. Alright, we'll check that. So, I'll tell you what, we're going to pull the top of this off and look at that coil. I am not convinced yet that we got a valve problem here. Not just yet anyway. Alright, so here comes our donor coil. I know this one is good. It's a little different. It has the air adjustment on here like this. It bolts on here, but it should work for what we need to do. Alright, so off comes this one. And by the way, these are just held on with, this is actually a 6.5 millimeter socket. It fits on pretty good, so that's what I'm using. So these two bolts, and got this wire underneath we got to pull off. And I mean, the coil looks okay, but you can't tell. You never know about these things. Well, I mean, it's all we can do is try. I don't have a coil tester, but you saw the spark. We did have spark, but I couldn't tell if it was intermittent or if it was constant. So, all right, so we'll put our new coil on. We'll hook our wire up on the bottom like that. May have to rearrange our wire a little bit here. There we go. There we go. And we'll bolt that back on. I usually take a piece of paper and put it between the coils right here to kind of give me a nice feel for the adjustment where it should be, so it doesn't drag on your flywheel here. Yeah, something like that. You get the idea. But it works. So I don't have a feeler gauge right now. I don't know what happened to it. So, all right, so we'll tighten these bolts down and put it back together, and hopefully we'll get at least hear it fire one or two times. Maybe it'll run. I don't know. We'll see. All right, that came out, and we're not binding up. We're good. Now we'll put the top on and see what happens. All right, well, let's try this and see what we get. you can hear that, but it's still popping back through the, it sounds like the exhaust, I'm not sure. So I think we've got a timing problem. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pop this head off here and see what's going on. So looks like we got either a timing issue or a valve problem there. So hey, that's just the way it goes, but still not that big of a deal to pull this off. We'll get it running sooner or later. Alright, so I tried one more time, a desperate attempt to get this thing running before I decided to tear into it. And it is definitely popping back through the carburetor here when I try to start it. So we've got an intake valve issue here. So at this point I'm committed, so I might as well just go ahead and pull it apart and see what's going on. After all, you know, I am doing it for free to help somebody else. So sometimes these are the things you gotta get into to fix things, but I still think it's well worth the fix here. Alright, so off it comes, and here's the head. Looks okay. So got a feeling we got a problem with an intake valve here, and I'm gonna have to set this camera up a little bit better. Alright, let's spin the blade a little bit here and see what we got. Alright, there's the intake opening up, and there's the exhaust, and it's closing, and here comes, oh, check that out there, the exhaust right here. It's slightly opened again. That's not supposed to open back up again. Yep. Well, so definitely we've got a valve issue. It's, yeah. So this one here closes and stays closed all the time through the whole cycle. And this one opens and closes through that cycle, but as I go through a half a revolution, it tries to open back up just briefly and closes again. Now here's something clicking. I don't think you can see it because I can't get my camera to zoom in much more than that, but see the bottom one there, the exhaust closes, but right there, see that? It's moving around. So I might as well go ahead and pull the engine off of the deck here. Not too big of a deal. Flip it upside down, pull the bottom cover off, and see what happens. Alright, I wanted to show you something here. This is one of my donor motors, and that valve does the same thing, which I don't quite understand why it does that. That you can see once it goes through a cycle, it moves a little bit. See that? It doesn't open up all the way, but it moves weird. So maybe that's pretty normal, but I think what we've got to do, we've got to clean some valves and reseat those. It looks like that's probably the issue. Alright, so here's the motor we're working on. Boy, these things are light, nothing to them. And I'm not sure which valve, but we're going to lap both of these valves. We're going to pull the bottom of this case off, 4 or 5 bolts. But you can see around that seat there how black it is. This one's even worse. So we'll just go ahead and do that. I got the oil drained out. Might as well just go all the way with it. Alright, so we got all the bolts out. All these are the same size except this one. You got this shorter one, a little tiny one here. It actually goes down in here, so don't forget that. Real easy to take off. And go ahead and tap this, pull it apart. Get you better. Careful. All right, just about out there. It gets a little harder because it gets down around this shaft here where the rust is, and that seal catches that. So let me tap on it just a little bit longer. Alright, so we're down to the nitty-gritty. Take a little piece of wood and kind of tap this off like this. And I'll give you some advice. if you have a lot of rust here in the shaft, take some sandpaper and get all that off, because this will not slide off there very easily. You're going to have a problem getting it off. So there's that. That looks good, no cracks. And there's the timing. Thought maybe the timing was off, but looks pretty good. There's our governor. It looks fine. And let's see, we got, what else we got in here? Thankfully I got another gasket for this. Let's see what we got for timing marks, make sure we're okay there. Alright, so I don't know how well you can see this, but our timing marks are okay. They're right where they should be. And the gears look okay, so let's go ahead and pull this cam gear out of here and see if we have any problems here with this thing. Yep, looks fine. Looks just like that one there. Down there, if you can, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that looks okay. So I think we just have a valve not sealing, causing it to pop back through the carburetor. Everything else here looks good. So there's a timing mark on that right there, a little notch. And there's a little notch right there on that gear. That's our timing mark there. So we'll just go ahead and slide this valve out here, lap it and clean it up. Other than that, I don't see anything else wrong with it. Alright, let's go ahead and get the cover out of the way for the excess into the valves. There's the valve springs. We'll release these little guys here, and we'll get these valves out of here and see what we got. But I think that's our issue. Alright folks, so we got our valves out, and you can see the intake valve here, how shiny this is right here. The seat, it's sealing pretty good, but if you notice the intake, actually the exhaust, the smaller one here, you can see it's not really that shiny there, but here's the intake. See how shiny that is? So I think what we need to do is just clean this up. And boy, there's a lot of black stuff here, a lot of carbon, so we'll clean this up. I even took the head gasket off. It's actually reusable, so we'll reuse that. Then we'll just kind of put everything back together, but I think this is probably a problem right here. This is why it's popping back through the carburetor. And you can see that seat there is shiny. The valve is nice and kind of shiny, but the exhaust is not so good. So anyway, it's a small job. We'll go ahead and do this and see what happens. And also, before someone asks, this is the spring and the keeper, sort of, that goes on the valve. And basically what you do, you push this down with a screwdriver, and this will slide right off of the top of the valve. There are a lot of videos on YouTube on how to take these out of the 3.5 horsepower engines, 4.5 horsepower engines. That's basically all it is. It just kind of slides on there. It's a little tricky getting them off, but that's basically how you do it in a nutshell. Yes, that's what we want to see, that nice frosted look on that valve. And same thing up here on the seat, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's looking pretty good there. So we're going to do that to both of these valves and put it back together, and at least we know this will have nice lap valves. And now we're doing the intake. I think this is the one that was giving me the problem, the popping through the carburetor. But you get the idea how to lap valves. Just doing this will just save you so much time and headache. Alright, so our valve job is complete. You can see we got that frosted nice look all the way around the valve and also on the seat here. And we are good to go. So all we got to do now is go ahead and put it back together. I'm not going to show you step by step how to put it back together. Pretty easy to do. It'll take me about maybe 45 minutes and we can start this up. So let's see if this made a difference. Alright, so we got most of it back together here. I want to show you now we have really good compression. You can hear the suction here when I spin this. Hear that? Good compression. That's what we want. Hear that popping? It's great. So that's what we want. So we're just about ready to fire this thing back up, and let's keep our fingers crossed. Alright guys, after about 45 minutes, it's all back together. Now the only thing, if it doesn't run, the only other thing I can think of is maybe something on this gasket on the carburetor is messed up. I didn't see it, or the timing gears, there's plastic timing gears inside the engine. Maybe it'll wore out, but they look fine to me. So what we're going to do, we got fresh oil in it, we got some gas. I'm going to leave the carburetor air cleaner off for now because I may have to adjust this idle spring a little bit. And we're going to see if this thing starts up. So let me go ahead and prime it a couple times here. It may puff, it may smoke a little bit when we first start it, but we'll see now if it runs after going through all that. So here we go. Still won't run, and you hear that, it's still popping back through the carburetor, so that's very interesting. Alright, so having said that, sometimes you just don't give up. So I think what I might do is go ahead and pull this top back off, and look at that key, pull that wheel off, and actually physically look at it, but it looked fine. For some reason, it keeps popping a little bit back to the carburetor, so we may actually pull this off and see if I did something wrong, but let me just try to crank on it one more time. No joy, but it is puffing back through the carburetor. So let me see what we can figure out here. Alright guys, wouldn't you know, off camera, I come out this morning, pulled the string, and it started 2 times, but died pretty quickly. It started for about 5 seconds each time, and died, and it wouldn't start back up. So I've decided to go ahead and check a couple minor things here. I think we're getting down here, figuring out what's wrong. What I've done, I've gone ahead and taken off the intake here. I thought maybe we had a crack in here or something, but it's in good shape. And there's the gasket right there where my thumb is. I think you can kind of see that down in there. It's in good shape too. So I think we've got a carburetor problem here. I think this carburetor maybe it's got a crack in it or something I missed. Like I said, it'll run for about 5 seconds and just dies. And it's got to be in the carburetor. So we'll put this back on. We'll look at this carburetor really quick, see what's going on with it. Alright, we've popped the carburetor off of this, and I see no cracks whatsoever. I did see a little bit of water in that gas. I don't know how that got in there, but there is that. The screen looks good. Here are 2 other carburetors I had for parts. I see nothing missing. Everything is exactly like it should be. And so I don't know, except this one other this carburetor here. This is a donor. That gasket is just a little different if you notice here compared to this one. This one right there, it's got that little place right there where it blocks off the hole. This one doesn't, so we're not even going to use that one there. But I really can't find anything wrong with this carburetor. I've been through it, no cracks. So I don't know, we'll just put it back in here. We'll put some fresh gas in it and see if we can get it started up. And I double checked the screen, I didn't see anything in there, but we'll clean it out again. We'll put it back together and put the gasket on. That's all we can do at this point. Man, some days this stuff will just drive you nuts, but you just gotta hang in there. Alright folks, so after all that, it still would not start, so I got to scratching my head and thinking, well, the only other option we have here is probably maybe a spark plug issue. And would you know, by taking an old spark plug out of a mower that I know had no issues and putting that plug into the mower that we've been having so much trouble with, although it ran early that it would die, we have fixed our issue. Check this out. Watch this. Starts up, no issue. Unbelievable, all that over a spark plug. But earlier in the video, you saw that we did have spark, but you know, sometimes these things can fool you. Just by looking at them, you really can't tell if they are 100% operational. Alright, so it's smoking a little bit. We'll run it for a while and get the oil burned out of the exhaust system and everything, but I think we are in good shape. So sometimes you just can't give up, because if you do, you'll walk away with defeat. But certainly it's a good feeling that we got it all back together and it's going to run. So it looks like I'm going to put a new air cleaner on it for this gentleman, give it back to him, and hopefully he'll give me a big smile back. So if you like this video and you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up and let me know where you're watching from. And until my next video, guys, I'll see you later.